I'd like to call the April 19th, 2023 Richfield Park Board of Education meeting to order. The time is 7:05. Can we start with the flag salute?
Seems pretty clear. And let's even look at the latest phenomenon. Now, people have been turning pallets of water into drug money.
Here's what's happening here. You get an Oregon Trail card. You go in and you buy bottled water. Go out to the parking lot and you dump it on the ground.
Please have a roll call.
Take your empty bottles. You take them into the store immediately to redeem for 10 cents.
Mr. Cathcart,
Here.
Mr. Cooney, Mrs. Kraft, here. Mr. Phytros.
Here.
Mr. Gomes. Oh, he's here? Okay. Mr. Gomes,
Here.
Mrs. McNeil,
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Here.
Ms. Velez,
Here.
Mrs. Orth, here, and President Martinez.
Here.
Also present, Mrs. Carrie Grapstein, School Business Administrator, Dr. Angela Bender, Superintendent of Schools, and Mr. Tom Egan, Fiscal Monitor. And I believe David Disler, Board Attorney.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open the public session?
I mean, we open public.
I second.
Okay, thank you for coming, everybody. I hope there's people online watching. It's a very important meeting. I'm sorry. Yes, please, read the open public meetings first, sorry.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Ridgefield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bergen Record, Star Ledger, Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. Public participation instructions. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments will be limited to 5 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating virtually and telephonically via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during public participation will need to raise their hand by clicking the blue hand icon at the bottom of their Zoom window. Individuals participating by telephone that wish to make comments during public participation will need to hit *9 on their telephone to raise their hand. The Business Administrator Board Secretary will then unmute individuals one at a time to speak in the order that their hand was raised.
Thank you. I guess now it's my turn. Just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We have a very important meeting. I hope a lot of people are watching online, and I hope that people watch this video when it is posted later in the week. As you know, the Board of Education has decided to do a superintendent search. We are well underway with that search, and we have the honor of having Dr. Brown and Ms. Shaw, who have been our facilitators, our consultants, will be presenting tonight on the process thus far, where we are right now, and then the very packed-in process that we have going forward. And so I will not delay anymore. The public will be able to comment after the presentation. We'll still keep to the 1 hour section for the public comment on or ask questions of what they hear tonight. Thank you.
Test. Is this good? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Monica Brown, and this is Karen Shaw, and we are associates with HYA. Our prime function is to help boards of education manage searches for high-level administrators. It's very important that boards have some assistance managing high-level administrative searches because as a Board of Education, there's only one position that you must manage the search, and that is the superintendent. So we're here to help you by providing advice, a process that has worked, but please know that every district is different, and we customize the plan based on your needs as a Board of Education. And we are here to help you come to a decision on who will be the superintendent come July 1. We will use, like I said, we have a process in place, and I know I've met with the Personnel Committee of the board to review that process. The 4 phases are to plan, engage, to recruit, and to select. So we'll be going through those today. But I want to first of all say how pleased we've been to be working with your Personnel Committee of your board. It's been a lovely experience so far. We've enjoyed meeting with the focus groups, both via Zoom, and Ms. Shaw spent time on campus. I spent a lot of time on Zoom and interviewing each of the board members directly. We've enjoyed the experience so far, and we are humbled with the opportunity to help you to facilitate this search. Like I said, we will provide you with structure that allows you to make this very important decision. Some would argue this is the most important decision a Board of Education makes, is to make sure they have the right person in place. So we use our process, but we also use best practice, and we're here for advice and guidance along the way. So thank you for being so wonderful to work with so far. And we look forward to a great process moving forward. So as I said, my name is Monica Brown. I'm a retired superintendent. I've been doing searches for about 5 years now. Karen Shaw is a retired board member and board president from South Jersey. So you get both sides of the coin as far as administrator and board membership as when you ask us for advice. So I'm going to talk about the process so far, where we are right now as far as the documents that you have in front of you, what the process is going to be like moving forward, and some statistics about the applicants that are in the pool at this time. So that's the agenda for tonight. Dr. Ramirez, is that okay? Martinez,
good.
is that okay? Thank you. Okay, so on February 21st, we met with the Personnel Committee to plan for the superintendent search process. The goal is to have an announcement, a decision by July 1st. So there are several steps between the planning and the announcement. And we went through all of those steps. And again, thank you for your hours of time spent planning that process. We then advertised the position and began the second phase, which is the engagement phase. During the planning session, you all told us which groups you would like us to meet with in focus group settings. And that you'd like a electronic survey. So we started our interviews, focus groups, and the survey right at the end of February. And we finished the last focus group, interestingly enough, yesterday. So we've been doing it for a while, but we like to talk to as many people as possible, because the more we know about your district and the concerns of your constituents and you all, the better we can help advise you through this process. So we met with stakeholders beginning on February 23rd. Like I said, we stopped yesterday. I have a couple comments just on the feedback in general that I want to make sure the board is aware of. First of all, we kept the community survey open longer than originally planned. And the reason we did that, quite frankly, was because we didn't get that many respondents. So in talking to Dr. Martinez, we agreed that we keep it open. The BA's office sent it out again as an email in an attempt to get more people to participate. Another comment, due to some minimal participation, we added some focus groups throughout as different, especially staff members or staff groups asked to meet with us or asked our BA to meet with us. We made sure to set up those sessions. Like I said, the last one was just yesterday. We added a survey for staff. We noticed that staff participation was minimal, less than expected. Now, it is hard to get people to come to focus groups. Everybody's really busy. And it's even hard to get people to do surveys, but we've been doing this a while and we had fewer than we'd expect. So in talking to Dr. Martinez, we decided to do a survey just for staff and not only give them the community survey that we gave to everyone, but also add a few questions that were specific to staff and this process and moving forward. And we did have, I believe it was 82 people who responded to that. Another thing about the information that we're going to present in the reports, this is not a scientific sampling, okay? This is anecdotal information that we're collecting. So qualitative information that we collect via discussion, some quantitative with the survey, but really we can't say that when you look at the survey and you see that the teacher said one thing, there's not enough teachers to represent all of them to say that it represents all teachers. It's anecdotal. And that's the same really in every district. And like in the community, you did not get enough population to say it totally represents the whole community. So we get an idea, but again, we're not claiming that the entire community feels the way it came out on the survey, if that makes sense. Also wanted to say that during several of the focus group meetings, the participants made it clear that their intention, their desire was to keep the leadership they had in place. That's what they wanted. That's what they came to the focus groups to tell us. So that is part of this. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that that was said. And you'll see in our documents that when we talk about a superintendent, we're talking about a superintendent who you're going to appoint on July 1st. If you read any of our documents from other districts, it might say new if the person is retiring. This one just says appoint because you all will decide at that point. Okay. In the focus groups, we asked all the focus groups the same questions, and we asked all of the interviewees the same questions. And we do that so that we can find themes throughout each of the answers. And then that's what you see in the leadership profile report. The questions are, what are the strengths of the district? What are the challenges that the district faces? What are the desired characteristics that you'd like to see in a new superintendent? And then is there anyone you would like to see as the new superintendent? And that's where that information came from. So what I'd like to do now is just talk to you a little bit about the themes that came about. These documents that we're going to go over with you tonight and get board feedback on will serve as the guiding documents for the search. We would like to use them to, when we speak to candidates, to look at their experiences. Do they have experiences that meet the challenges? Do they have the desired characteristics that we heard that the themes are the district needs? So that's why it's important that we come to consensus on what those are. So I'm not going to read this report to you. It's very long. The board's had it for a couple of days, but I just want to start with the participation. You'll see the chart on page 3 lists all the different groups we met with and how many people showed up for each of those groups, both for the personal interviews and focus groups and the survey. Okay. As far as the strengths of the district, we found that, and again, these are themes we heard across groups and throughout the survey, that you're very fortunate in Ridgefield Park to have motivated students who come to school ready to learn, and parents who are involved in the lives and the educational lives of their students. You have some very strong pride and positive feelings about your elementary schools and the leadership in those schools and the positive climate for learning in the elementary schools. In addition, the town as a whole, we heard about a strong sense of tradition in the village and how important that was to be to something that's continued, that pride is something that's fostered within the schools. As far as the staff, we heard that there's a dedicated and hardworking group of people working for the children here in Ridgefield Park, outstanding teachers, administrators, and members of the support staff. We heard that staff can be described as strong in whatever they do, whatever their roles are, and caring. So it's not just that they're pedagogically strong, but they also care about students. So that's great to hear. They have a commitment to student success and a strong sense of community as a village. The district offers a wide variety of curricular options. We heard that from students, and there exists a great pride in the schools. The diversity of the student body is considered a strength by most of the people we spoke to. And there's a feeling that the Board of Education, you all sitting in front of me this evening, are a strong, dedicated, forward-thinking group who want what's best for the schools. And that you're committed to providing positive change for the district. You have dedicated staff, robust programs, and a supportive student body and community. And another thing that came out through much of our conversation is that even though I'm going to talk about in the challenges, some of the past financial challenges that the district has faced, that over the past several years, and really with the work of the people in front of me and everyone who works for the district, you're really pulling yourselves out of those financial problems that resulted in the need for the state monitor. So those I think I wrote hard-fought positive financial gains need to be maintained and continued. As far as challenges for the district, the number one challenge that we heard spoken about in all of the meetings and from different constituency groups, and was the number one challenge on the survey, was to improve student achievement. That the concentration really needs to be on improving student achievement, attendance. We heard it in terms of class size. We heard it include about attendance. We heard it about vulnerable populations that are coming into the schools who need targeted support, who really need those transformational targeted assistance that will improve student achievement over the long term. We also heard that in Ridgefield Park, which is not unlike many municipalities around the state and the country, that there's been heated discourse lately at public meetings, a lot of anger flowing around for lots of reasons. There's no judgment here. We're just saying that there has been heated discourse. And there's been some extreme polarization, some vocal members of the public who, and board members who, you know, I know everybody's intention is to work for the students, but sometimes those cross opinions and purposes are difficult. And when I get to the staff survey, I'll talk about why that becomes important. Some of that extreme polarization we found has been based on some prior acts of financial mismanagement that we talked about that resulted in the state monitor, and some personnel decisions that the board is still dealing with today. Those are some things that have caused discourse and polarization in the community, and that is a challenge that needs to continue to be faced. The lack of stability in leadership positions makes sustained improvement efforts difficult. So we heard about the need for sustained efforts and stable efforts and leadership. We hear about factions that have developed in the public, and that sometimes that makes it difficult to get things done. Sometimes I'm just going to quote here, the ability to balance competing interests, mitigating a high level of frustration that currently exists. That's going to be something that the superintendent needs to consistently do. The need to modernize the schools and to innovate the curriculum came through as challenges, and to create a healthy climate and improve staff morale in order to enhance student achievement. Improving the facilities, providing ongoing maintenance and modernization of curriculum and technology, and improving the general academic performance of the students are all things that we heard were challenges that need to be faced. Just a quick summary of the surveys specifically, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Shaw for the desired characteristics. For the community survey, we had 356 people take the survey electronically. The two largest stakeholder groups were parents of current students at 65%, staff members at 17%, community members, these are people without children in the district, at 13%, parents from Little Ferry at 6%, and students only at 2%. We wish we'd have heard more from them. They were asked to choose what they think the most important challenges are: improving student achievement, lack of stability in district leadership, lack of transparency in decision-making, and addressing the financial issues of the district. So very similar to what we talked about. Strengths were the well-rounded students, the professional and dedicated teachers, the involved parents, and the diverse community focused on providing an inclusive environment for learning. Now, the staff survey, I want to be clear, we could not differentiate because it's anonymous. We don't know if any staff took the community survey where they could identify themselves as staff and took the staff survey. So we don't know if there were any doubles. We don't know, but we wanted to do a separate one because we added some more questions. Like I said, not scientific, but it does give us a flavor. For this staff survey, we had actually 84 stakeholders who presented, 80% of which were teachers and 17.4, which were staff members. So it was a very highly teacher strong in the survey. Okay, so those challenges, the top two challenges, they actually tied at 21.4%. They indicated that the school facilities needed to be addressed and the lack of stability in the leadership needs to be addressed. The other two, addressing the financial issues and improving student achievement. The staff respondents for the strengths were the well-rounded students, the involved parents, the dedicated teachers, and the supportive, tight-knit community that is the town of the village of Ridgefield Park. Now, the staff asked some additional questions, and I just want to go over a summary of what they said. We had heard in the focus groups that staff morale was an issue, so we asked the question, is staff morale a concern? And it was a Likert scale, 1 to 5, and those saying it's a major concern and somewhat a concern were 78%. So it is a high level of concern for staff morale collectively. The next question, the culture of the Ridgewood Park Public Schools. Again, it was a Likert scale. On the unhealthy or negative end, levels 1 and 2 was 54.8 or 55% of the respondents. On the healthy positive end, it was only 13.1%. So we definitely see a leaning in that direction. Moving forward, we asked them to give you some advice. And moving forward, 60 or 59.5% want you to adopt more innovative systems and programming. 17% want it to continue this way it is. When asked about, I'm sorry, feeling supported by district leaders, this one was really pretty equal all around. A third, a third, a third. A third felt supported, a third were neutral, a third felt that they weren't supported. So that really didn't show us much. When asked about conflicts that occur at the district level, so that means these conflicts that occur in this forum, almost 61% of your staff who responded, which isn't everybody, said it negatively impacts my day-to-day activities. So they are feeling the effects of the conflict. 27.4 indicated they weren't sure if the conflicts affected them, and 11.9 or 12% say they don't impact the activities. And again, when asked to give the board advice, and they could choose from all of these. So you'll see they could check as many as applied. 61.4% of your staff said that the Board of Education should focus on improving schools. That's the student achievement. So we're seeing that theme. 36.1% said you should work to change the structures and systems you have in place. 34.9% or 35% indicated you should work to bring fresh ideas to the district. And 21.7% indicated that you should keep the structures that you have in place. So again, so I'm going to turn it over to Karen, who will review the characteristics. And remember, we asked every focus group and the survey to for people to let us know what are the characteristics that you would like to see in a superintendent for the Ridgefield Park Public Schools. So let's turn it over.
Great. Thanks, Monica. I want to echo what Monica said. It has been a pleasure being here and meeting with so many of the stakeholders in your district. It really is a great way for us to get a feel for the district and really understand what's going on here. So we appreciate everyone's time that they took to meet with us as well. So the desired characteristics, this is one sheet of what trying to gather together all of the focus groups and all the stakeholders and all of the surveys that we conducted, both from students, teachers, parents, staff, community members. Really, the desired characteristics all come together in what ideally you're looking for in a superintendent. So this document says the Ridgefield Park Board of Education seeks an innovative, experienced, consensus-building educational leader who is trustworthy, collaborative, and transparent, and who possesses the following characteristics. A strong leader who demonstrates the ability to connect at all levels in a diverse and changing community with multiple needs. Displays the fiscal acumen and experience to responsibly manage a complex public education enterprise through the equitable allocation of resources, demonstrates the ability to address all aspects of learning that includes addressing social, emotional, and mental health needs of students in an innovative manner, maintains organizational accountability when making operational decisions, understands the complexities of working with the state monitor, exhibits high integrity and is confident, decisive, objective, and resilient, able to develop a new and clear strategic vision for the district through collaboration with all stakeholders, and who possesses the ability to motivate and hold all accountable to achieve the vision. A systems thinker who can bring overall academic improvement efforts and programs to the district. Is experienced in contract negotiation, transportation, and capital improvement planning. A relationship builder who places the students at the center of every decision, seeks input prior to making decisions, communicates that rationale behind each decision, and stands firm once a decision is made. Develops and maintains professional, collaborative, and respectful relationships with stakeholders based on a strong set of core values and mutual trust. Demonstrates success in working and partnering with the governing body, fosters an open and safe environment that prioritizes inclusion and diversity, inspires, supports, and empowers a leadership team to facilitate growth and change with transparency, and able to motivate staff and students to excel. An exceptional communicator who communicates regularly, clearly, and concisely in a way that engages and values all stakeholders, collaborates by seeking input prior to making decisions, and communicates the rationale behind the decisions, demonstrates courage when facing challenges and can navigate complex situations with poise and empathy, invests in the community by being present, approachable, and engaged in the district and community events. A successful candidate will have exemplary executive level educational leadership experience and have or be immediately eligible for a New Jersey school administrator certificate. So that is everything in one page. And those are a lot of great characteristics. Maybe everyone doesn't have all of these, but that this is what we are hoping to get in the candidates that we are looking at. And I think I will turn it back to Monica, but the deadline for this application is May 5th, I believe.
Exactly. Great. Thank you, Karen. Okay, so the process moving forward, we're on a tight timeline. We are on a very tight timeline. So we appreciate the board allowing us to come here and do this so we can work on the recruitment and screening process. So our role is to make sure that the board has everything you need to make a good decision. And what we'll be doing is collecting the applications until May 5th. We will be doing screening interviews based on the themes that we've provided here. If that's okay. We'll be looking for people who have experience managing the challenges that are in here. We'll be looking for people who have strengths to continue the great things that we described and who have the characteristics that are in that document. So applications will be due by May 5th. Interviews would be taking place throughout May. And I thank you in advance for your time because it is an investment. I realize that. The goal is to announce by June 1st how you would like to move forward. So as I kind of summarize what we heard, finding someone who can really work to make sure that the students in Ridgefield Park are, the improvement in achievement. That came through very clearly in a lot of the discussion. So we'll be, as we're talking to candidates, we'll be asking specific questions about the experience, improving instruction, targeting supports, the transformational leaders who take districts and or groups and help them to succeed, help staff with professional development, help students to succeed, and overall to bring up those levels of student achievement. So we'll be screening using these documents if that works for you. We'll be checking references, doing, of course, Google searches, and we'll be looking for someone or looking for people who closely align with what we've described here today, and then we can bring them to you to interview. Again, we're looking to be done by June 1st, but no search is the same. And we can, as we move through, we'll be looking for board advice and support along the way. So we really we appreciate all the people who lent their opinions and either took the survey or came to a focus group. We so appreciate the board for giving us their time, especially the personnel committee in the planning process. And we look forward to continue to work with you to make sure that this process, you end up with someone as close to these characteristics as possible. Does the board have any questions for us?
Sorry, were you going to present an overview of the applicants so far?
Thank you, Ms. Orr. I appreciate that. It's right at the bottom of my notes. I do have it. So right now we have 26 applications in the system. We are screening them now. We screen them as they come in. We're screening tentatively based on the desired characteristics and do they have experience meeting the challenges? I apologize. Yes, so we have 26 in the system. And again, this is a confidential search. We won't be naming any of those applicants. I think the board understands why, but just for the public, educators typically don't apply for a position if their name is made public. Many sitting superintendents, sitting assistant superintendents, principals, et cetera, they wouldn't want their names to be said in the public. But right now, like I said, 26, we have several sitting superintendents, assistant superintendents, and educators, not only from New Jersey, but from really all over the tri-state area.
Will the board get to see all of the applicants, even though you're doing the screening on them?
Great question. Absolutely. Every search is different. I'll tell you, I've had some boards who say, no, just bring us the people who you think we should interview. That is not this board. That is not this planning committee. They want to see every application. They want our advice on who we think most closely aligns, but that planning committee made it clear they want to know every single person who applied and what we think of them. So we are screening every candidate.
As you have found out, we are a very special place. Ridgefield Park has a lot of great attributes, and we also have some blemishes that we're working out. In your process of screening applicants and of advertising, is that a discussion that you have with applicants so that they know what's great about Ridgefield Park and what kind of work needs to be done here?
Exactly. With your permission, we will give the signature and we will go over the challenges that Ridgefield Park has faced that you all continue to face. It is a very special place, but yes. In addition, there are, when we're screening, like I said, because one of the main themes that we heard again and again and again was the need to improve student achievement. We'll be focusing on experiences, specific experiences, improving student achievement, and really what the board and the community can do to support those efforts. But yes, we would never want to bring anyone here for you to interview who didn't know the full story as we know it.
Board members online, you're allowed to ask questions as well. I actually have another question. Will we also get so you're taking notes on these applicants?
Mhm.
When we're presented with the slate of applicants, will we get your notes? Yeah.
So what we do is we create a spreadsheet. You'll love our spreadsheets. And then we put the notes in there so we'll present them to you, but then you'll have them to look at if you like.
And just to get an idea, when putting pressure, but when would that spreadsheet become?
So we are tentatively scheduled to meet with you on the May 10th. So we would make those all available. We try to do it 2 days before, but your application closing date is the 5th. So, we're working on a tight schedule, but we try to get you information at least 2 days before so you can review it before we come together. That's we're working on a tight, but we'll do our absolute best, I promise.
And are in terms of coming up with the questions, do you help us come up with the questions or the questions? Is that every interview standardized?
Once we present to you and you all choose who you interview, we go through an interview workshop with you. We provide suggested questions. We will then customize them to your situation. Typically, what I like to do is go right to the challenges section of the leadership profile and write questions around that. These are the challenges that we'll have to speak to very quickly. But we do have a set of interview standard questions that we let you look through. What we've been doing lately, and again, this would be something we'd plan at this meeting and you all could decide, but we will share on a Google Sheet questions, and then you would put your initials by ones you want to ask. And then we work on a script to make sure we try to get all those questions into the interview process. You asked about, we do recommend, again, it's up to you as a group, but we do recommend that the first round of interviews that all the candidates are asked the same questions so that you can, best practices in HR that you want to be able to, as best as you can, compare apples to apples. And one way to do that is to have the same questions. So that's what we recommend. Moving into additional interviews of the finalists, sometimes there's specific questions to those finalists that need a little bit more customization or personalization. But in the first round, we definitely recommend the same questions for every candidate.
And as we narrow the pool down, one of the concerns that many people have, even though probably about 90% of jobs are given through an interview, that's pretty much how people are hired. Will you help us narrow down specific, I guess, data points on their background, be able to dig up what they've done, what their achievements are in a more specific way than just on an interview?
So kind of two things going in there, Dr. Martinez. The first one is we will help you. We have some processes in place with your permission. We'll describe them. And if the board agrees, we have some procedures in place that will help you narrow down candidates in a way that allows you to come to consensus pretty quickly. So we have some strategies to use that way. But when it comes to making your decisions on how to rank candidates, we also can, with your permission, provide you with some matrices based on what's in these documents, really what to look for. And, some board members, some people might individually feel like it's most important for someone to have had superintendent experience. So you rank that higher on your priority list than someone else who says, I don't care if they've had a superintendent experience, but I want them to have the experience of transforming a school or a district. So you get to prioritize, but we'll give you the matrices to do so.
I have a question.
Sure, Ms. Flores.
Out of the 26 applications that you have received, have you already done like a first screening or you haven't really looked at it yet?
We can't wait till the end because we're on a time schedule. So we've started, but we won't decide who we want to bring to you all until we know that we're looking at the right things. But yes, we have started.
Okay, but you haven't, or have you met with any of these candidates? yet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. If we waited till May 5th to do it, we wouldn't be able to get all of it done.
Is 26 candidates considered to be, like, I think there was some concern by some members. I'm sorry, I apologize for my voice. I'm just getting over a cold. I think some people in the community were concerned that we wouldn't receive a large pool of candidates. Is that considered to be a well-versed pool of candidates for a superintendent position?
At this point in the process, you still have, 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. Yeah, you're at a good place. And that is because as a planning committee, you advertised in you got your advertisements out early, so it's because of the work you've done and coming to Ridgefield Park. But yes, so we're right at about where we'd expect.
This is Trustee Rodriguez. So out of the 26 candidates, you obviously represent other districts too. You facilitate in the search of superintendent. So out of the 26, can we say that all 26 have applied to other superintendent positions in other districts?
No, they have not.
So out of these 26 candidates, there is not one candidate that has applied to other districts.
No. Okay. I want to just make sure I understand the question. So out of the 26 people who are in our system, who are in the application pool, there are people who have applied in other districts at other times, and there's some who have not, that this is their only district. But there's a caveat to that. We're not the only gig in town. So I can only tell you where they've applied in districts where HYA is doing the search. School boards does searches, so I could tell you that someone didn't apply to another search, but they could have, because they could have been going through another firm, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I'll ask a follow-up question to that one. Is in terms of I hate to use the word quality, but the experience or the background, one of the concerns expressed was, which, I've said here before that I disagree with this concern, only because I think that this district has wonderful things to offer. I think any superintendent would be lucky to work with this board, to work with these teachers, to work with this active community. And so I don't, most of our blemishes are in the past as far as I'm concerned, and we're headed in the right direction. But are we getting experienced candidates who, are not looking for just their first gig or to get out of someplace, but that are looking to make a difference?
Okay, so right now, what we're seeing is there is a mix of people who are first-time superintendent applicants. I don't know if it's the first place they've applied, but it would be their first time as a superintendent, and several who are sitting superintendents and assistant superintendents. You have a nice mix right now. Because we're early in the process of screening, as far as their experience level looks good, but we haven't dug deep into what they're doing. I will tell you, just in my experience, we've worked with districts who've said they have to be sitting superintendents. Those are the only people who we want to talk to. And they forget that sometimes it's that up and comer who has some really good ideas. So we'll give you the scope of people who we feel best meet your desired characteristics. But again, it will be up to you But right now we do have a nice mix. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I definitely agree. And it's definitely a good place.
And Dr. Martinez, just to tell you, we talk to candidates. That's what we call, we talk to them. And I would say that you do have a reputation as a board, a positive reputation, this board, of trying to move forward after some difficult times. And that is very attractive to candidates, to be working with a board like you.
Another question. Richfield Park is a special place. Bergen County is a special place. Are we getting applicants that are familiar with the culture, that are familiar with the diversity here, that are familiar with the history of this part of the state?
We're seeing candidates from all parts of the state, all regions, different types of backgrounds, urban, suburban, even some rural, believe it or not. So we're seeing a mix at this point, but it is, I want to be clear. It's too early to be able to give you a general sense, because the busiest weeks in a search are usually the last 2 weeks.
Thank you. Hey, will you grace us with a little bit more of your presence and
Absolutely.
perhaps hear some of the comments from the public?
Sure. Thank you.
You both. Berlinda, do you have the statement available to read?
Yes, for tonight's meeting, there will be one public comment session. There is a sign-up sheet on the podium. We'll call your name in the order that you sign in. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak during each comment period. Time cannot be transferred to other individuals. The public comment period will be 1 hour. The board will now entertain public comment. Please remember to state your name, mailing address, and to keep your comments brief to a sufficient time for other members of the public to speak if they wish. Thank you for your cooperation and support.
I'm going to ask that we, as much as possible, try to keep our comments and questions to the two individuals who are here to answer questions. We won't have them here. Well, at some point, we might have them back at a board meeting, but that we stay on the agenda of asking them questions that you've been curious about. So we will start with Ms. DeSantis. Actually, just as a matter of order, please direct the questions to me. And if I can't answer them or somebody in the board will answer, then of course we'll direct them to them, which could be the majority of
ask you questions?
Yeah, as a point of order.
Okay, I don't really have any questions. I just, in listening to everything, I'll reiterate what I've said many, many times before. We already have a superintendent that has these qualities. We have a community and a staff that believes that too. And I don't know what more you want. That's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. Ms. Malou?
Janet Malul, 163 East Grand Avenue. Okay. I was one of the people who did the surveys. I honestly found the survey almost difficult to do, in that I felt like every question I answered could be taken pro or con. And that just as an aside. I also was not, I wanted to write a comment or an explanation, and there was no area to do that. I listened to the outcomes as summarized, and the one thing that went through my mind is Dr. Bender was reinstated the end of January. We pretty much started this search. So in my mind, when I was answering it based on the interim superintendent. What did we have for a year and a half? And over that year and a half, there was a lot of controversy. We had a different board for part of it. There was very poor communication with the public, and I would assume with the staff. You could not really get an answer out of that person. And when I actually looked at that person's background, yes, credential-wise was there. But beyond that, if you looked at the work history, it was choppy. And if you're in education, you don't want that. That's not something that's a positive, it's a negative, especially when you jump from one thing to the other. When meetings were held where we were talking about long-term goals and we were just coming off the pandemic, I kept questioning, why are we worried about a 5-year plan? What are we doing right now to catch our kids up? But unfortunately, we didn't have the right person sitting there to be able to do the job. As we moved ahead, even some of the programs that, the summer program, that was really Dr. Bender's program that he pretty much, luckily, at least for the kids' sake, continued to have in place, but it wasn't something that he thought of. As we moved forward, and I sit at the meetings and I watched Dr. Bender speak of the new programs, the new initiatives, the new culinary design for a classroom. The only thing I could say is she lights up like a kid at Christmas time. Okay. And I've worked for 32 years in education. I've seen principals come and go, superintendents come and go. And I'm hoping that you take a lot of things into consideration. And as far as having all these people that are going to be interviewing, and I have nothing against people interviewing for a job, but I really wonder what some of them will bring to the table. And the other thing to understand about this community is a lot of times, and I'm host chair of the Arts Association, and I'm active in the community gardens and the green team and stuff like that. We're always working with the schools. So if we don't have somebody at the top that's willing to really work with us, it creates a problem. We need somebody who's going to be at all the events, or most events. And I'm not just talking, the plays and things like that that happen within the school, but within the community. And somebody that's really going to kind of understand what we're really like here, because this is a unique community. And so that's another thing that I'm kind of concerned about. I would really like to see that if somebody's coming in, what do they really bring to the table? And I get we're not going to have anything to say about it. We've had boards that were uncooperative in our mind or had different goals than what the community had. And we actually, they're no longer sitting here. So I'm really hoping that the sitting board does take into account a lot of what the community wants and again, remember that the person sitting at that table for a year and a half wasn't the person that should have been. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keating. Mr. DeSantis?
Ed DeSantis, 15 Homestead Place. Wasn't sure if I was going to say anything, but I can't myself. So board's in a tough position. While seeking out a superintendent, you clearly have a community favorite. That's one side of it. And what's happened over the last year and a half is not a good example of where this district is going. And the board by itself is proof of that. And Dr. Bender has been proof of that on her return and before she was sent home on administrative leave. There is a strong desire in the community for stability. That I've heard a lot. I would assume you've heard it in and I forgot their names. Isn't that terrible?
Dr. Brown, Karen.
I don't say you guys. So stability and leadership and vision that will bring our students further along than where they are. In terms of resilience, there's one I have to say that would be in the bag because I've never seen anybody so resilient against so many obstacles to hang in there. Okay, as I said before, who is the best superintendent? I don't know. There's many, many good ones. It's more of a case of picking among those that are the best. But when you take into stability, you take into core values of being supportive of diversity, communicating well, working with the state monitor, which is not always the case. We have a strong leader in Dr. Bender. Now, you have a job to do. It's understandable. You have a job to do, and that's what you're going to do. It's not my decision. It's your decisions. And that doesn't come with demands or anything else, just my opinion. So, but I'd like you to consider all those things. And having been through superintendent searches before, you may have some candidates that you may leave laughing at the end because you can't believe how bad they are. It happens. And some people will be excellent interviewers. As you all know, and references are what they are. Nobody gives anybody a bad reference. So I hope in your objectivity and listening to the community and listening to the staff and looking to your own hearts and what you believe in, because I believe all of you want to move this district forward. That I am without question believing it. And your openness to the public. I wish you luck in decision. I hope my personal dreams come true, but it is in your hands and a good luck.
Thank you, Mrs. Santos. Ms. Concepcion?
Good evening. My name is Tatiana Concepcion. I'm located at 89 Laurel Street. I've been here in the community, which this summer will be 12 years. I have been very blessed. And when my son started school, we first met Dr. Bender, and she received us with open arms. Through the years, we're still in contact. She's a remarkable woman. And yes, I'm in favor for Dr. Bender. I know there's many candidates applying for this job with the superintendent. And it was a rough time for Dr. Bender, but she's here. And why keep on searching? Give her more opportunities. She's been hands-on with the children, hands-on with the community. And when the pandemic started, she and her staff members and everyone rushed to get computers for each and one of our students in this district, that no other district could do that so fastly. I'm sure other schools and towns in our state did it, but it's difficult to do that in a short amount of time. And honestly, I love this district. I love Richfield Park. And she knows, Dr. Bender knows the people here and knows the culture and diversity that we go through in this community. Every community, every town, every state, every country, every part of the world goes ups and downs and has their problems. But we come together in this district. We do. And maybe there's no many parents here, unfortunately, but I'm sure that they are home watching and they're rooting for someone to really make a positive change here in Richfield Park. And honestly, that will be Dr. Bender. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hidalgo? Former trustee.
Good evening, everyone. Ronald Hidalgo, 335 Teaneck Road. I'm going to be brief in my comments, but at first I'll have a question. It's a stupid question. And the question is, who was the rocket scientist that came up with the idea of the surge?
I'm going to wait to answer that question after you go. I don't want to take up your time, but I will
Okay.
answer that question.
Okay, okay. And to address the poor participation of the people that participated in the survey, the reason why that happened was because everybody's fed up with all the BS that's going on here in town. No one wants to be dealing with this. We all want the same thing. Most of the people in Richfield Park wants the same thing. Richfield Park wants a person with all these qualifications. That is true. We have them right there. She's right there sitting in front of me. We also want a person who has participation with the people, which is not here in this desired superintendent characteristics. We want somebody who is in contact with the people, who loves the community and receives a love back from the community. A person who dresses in a costume to read to small children. That's what we want for Richfield Park. A person who loves the children, a person who loves the community, and the community loves her back. Like you said, Richfield Park is a special place. She is a special person.
Thank you, Mr. Hidalgo. Mr. Rafferty? Actually, Mr. Rafferty, can I answer his question first? Please.
My lawyer?
No. I just want to answer the question because I said this at the end of a meeting a couple of months ago, I guess. And I just want to reiterate that we are listening to the public. We're actually not that far apart as some of you might believe. Many of the concerns that you've expressed are concerns that we up here have and have shared and are worried about. Many of them I've shared with our consultants about whether we will be able to get somebody who's the person that our kids deserve. However, I do want to reiterate that my impression of the last couple of elections was that we were elected to be thoughtful, to be respectful, to take our time with decisions, to go through processes, to respect ethics, to change the way things were being done in this district on many, many levels. And this is one of those levels, is that we are resisting the temptation to just respond and swing the pendulum in the other direction. We're resisting the temptation to on some cases, not present company, but to be bullied into certain decisions. We have kids in district. We're committed to it. I've already told my wife that I'm not moving ever again. I hate moving. And that's why I'm up here. And so I appreciate the questions and the respect and that you guys are trusting us as much as you can. I also understand the skepticism. Most of us here on the board are here because of our skepticism, because we were fed up with the way things were going. None of us on the board want anything else from this district other than a good school system. My kids have been told that they are not allowed to apply here until I'm long gone. So I'm not looking for anything else from this district. I'm looking for the same thing you're looking for. So we're really not that far apart in terms of what we want. The difference is that we are insisting on going through the most transparent process that we can go through. We picked an agency that is not located 2 miles away from Richfield Park. We're going with the consultants. We're following their lead. We're following everything to the T. The state monitor has been very instrumental in making sure that we are on the up and up with everything. So we're really not that far apart. So I appreciate the comments and we are listening. We're just disagreeing on the process. Thank you for your time. Mr. Rafferty, the mic is yours.
It's a tough act to follow.
You can do it.
First off, as the search agency said about people in Richfield Park, and if the Board of Education is working hard and moving forward, I believe they are. We have seen a major improvement in the Board of Education. They've been open with us as much as possible. And I believe we all are looking for the same thing. Because I disagree with the process doesn't mean it's wrong, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong. That's all. So we'll do it. We trust you and we'll do it. I have a question about the survey. The survey is complete, correct? Yes. One of the questions in the survey pointed out the lack of transparency to the people of Richfield Park. We just finished with a superintendent who promised us in regard to the new sex education that we would have an open meeting where the parents could ask questions. We would deny that because he lied to us. He cut her off, sent her out, and the parents had absolutely no input. We had minimal through the computer, but we were unable to voice our concerns or ask for our questions. So I'm going to ask you a question right now, and I would appreciate, and the people of Richfield Park would appreciate, if you could be clear with us on this. What was the general feeling towards Dr. Bender and her return overall from the staff, the parents, the people of Richfield Park, and the students? We really are entitled to an answer to this.
Would you like me to jump in, or? I will.
If you want to give us some context and make sure we don't hit any rails, Mr. Disler?
So again, because this is a personnel matter, we typically can't go into individual candidates in public. So that's.
I am not
direct the
talking
condolences
about
in that regard,
personnel,
but-
sir. I'm not talking personnel. I'm talking about the residents of the village of Richfield Park are entitled to an answer. I'm not talking personnel. I don't need to know any facts about Dr. Bender.
Mr. Disler, would I be able to answer what was communicated to the board about the statements made in the public forums?
About in the public forums, yes, that's certainly
Okay.
appropriate. I just want to keep the parameters around. If we're talking, we can't really talk about individual candidates specifically when it comes to and confidential information. If it's information that was discussed in a public forum, that's very different.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the public knows that the consulting firm is being very transparent with us and has told us, and I guess I'll cut to the chase. They
Why did
tell
we
us-
take a survey if we will not discuss the results with the public? Who is running the meeting, the lawyers or the board?
Mr. Rafferty, I'm trying to answer.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to answer your questions.
I know that. My apologies.
I'm trying to answer your questions.
But the Board of Education runs the meeting,
Yeah.
not the lawyer.
You asked a question and I want to, so I'm making sure we can answer it because there's a personnel matter next to it. The board was told with no hesitation that the majority of the people who attended the open forums were in favor of the current superintendent staying in that position.
That answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not in trouble, right, Mr. Disler?
No, I just wanted to make, I just want to keep the general parameters, right? Because it's,
Okay.
because we're in public, I want to make sure we're not just talking about any candidates. You know, again, this is a somewhat confidential process with a transparent component to it. If that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Steele?
Hi, Dr. Maggie Steele from Grant School, and we have a couple of teachers up here with us too. So I've been a teacher in Phil Park for 28 years, and I also grew up in town, and I've seen a number of administrators come and go, and I've learned what makes a great school leader. And along with all of the qualifications that we saw in the presentation tonight, it really comes down to 3 basic relationships. Number 1, you need someone the community loves. Parents need to know that someone will listen to their concerns and address them. Number 2, you need someone who will collaborate with their staff and not just dictate what they want. They will need to find out what we need to work successfully and listen to our concerns. Number 3, we need someone who is here for and enjoys the students. A person who doesn't just show up to give a speech at graduation, but also goes to all the small events. They look for programs that will make our students successful while enjoying their time here in Richfield Park. And it's very rare to find someone who checks all of those boxes. So when you do, you need to hold on to that person. And in my opinion, that is Dr. Bender.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. Carolina Fernandez?
Hi, Corolla Fernandez, 33 College Place. I have 2 children in the district, one in high school and one in the pre-K in the co-op program. I've known Dr. Bender since my first daughter was in kindergarten, and my daughter literally was principal's pet, I guess you would say. Every Halloween parade, she would hold Dr. Bender's hand, and that went on through 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. She sees Dr. Bender as a second mom. She's been with her through thick and thin, through different obstacles that she's had in her elementary. And she does reach out to her periodically when she needs any type of educational guidance. If we truly don't believe in our hearts that our children are the future, we are the most naive group of people sitting here, because we are not going to live forever. And our children are the only things that are going to make or break and make a difference in this country. Because what they have to face, we will never see. They have to face global warming. They have to face so many different obstacles that we did not have to face, and we probably will never have to face. And the last thing I want to say is that I think Dr. Bender has all the characteristics that we're looking for, and her number 1, I think, strength is stability. And she's a very approachable human being. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come talk to us. Do we have the portal open? I want to thank everybody who's present and who has given us feedback. We do hear it. I do have a knot in my throat. We are listening to you. If you're listening online, you have to raise your hand. We'll give it a couple minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maria Escobar, 80 Orchard Street. I will first apologize as I have 2 tired kids with me, and I'm home alone.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name and address?
Maria Escobar, 80 Orchard Street.
You go ahead.
Okay. So my first, no, baby, I'm sorry, I'm by myself with my two kids and they're a little rowdy right now. Okay, so my first comment is that I understand all the parents and the community members that come to every meeting and support Dr. Bender. I understand. You've been with her for a very long time. I've been in the district for some time. However, my son is in second grade now. And when I first came into the school, it was through the whole pandemic chaos, through the whole George Floyd chaos, through the whole police chaos. So it was chaos. So I really wanted to inform myself as to what our district was doing and how it was handling the situations that we were facing. Along with doing this, I wanted to know who our superintendent at the time was. So I did my research to see who Dr. Bender was. I don't know if this is something she's put up on her own personal page, but the material that was there was very concerning to me as to what my child was going to be learning in kindergarten. I brought it up to the teacher that he was going to have, to the principal of the school, and I wanted to make sure that I had a meeting because that's how concerned I was. I wanted to know what he was going to be reading, how they were going to be presenting stories, et cetera, et cetera. So just to make it clear, it seems she was very supportive of CRT and BLM. So I wanted to know how that was going to be approached, whether other parents had looked into it, were aware or not, because they had been in the district for a very long time. Maybe they weren't aware of this, they didn't take the time to look into it. They were just very comfortable. And sometimes when we get comfortable, other people get very comfortable. So that scared me a little bit. That's why I'm not so crazy about keeping Dr. Bender, and I would like to take other routes. That's part of my statement. Now, my question for the ladies or the group that is looking for a new superintendent, I have, are you looking at people and if they have political affiliations, whatever that may be, if they are supportive of certain political groups or independent groups that support particular political parties, because it seems that it's being infiltrated in every school. Another question is, what do you mean by student experiences? What do you mean by is it, are we going to focus on language arts? Are we going to focus on science? Are we going to focus on math? Or are we going to focus on liberal arts?
Ms. Escobar, can I answer some of those questions?
Yes, please.
This is Ricardo. So in terms of who we're picking, we are not using political affiliation in either direction as one of our criteria, nor do we expect our teachers and staff members to express their political affiliations to their students. I know that there's a lot going on in the news in this area, but that is not that's not what the board is going to be doing in interviewing, looking for people with certain political affiliations. Now, as to your second question, our district could use help in all areas of academic achievement. There are some weaknesses, of course, in some grades, but I think when we have a stable leadership, we will be able to refocus on curriculum, which is a word that at least in the board meetings I saw a long time ago was never used. We've made big strides in the right direction. And so it's really in all areas that we could use help. I hope that answers those two questions.
Yes, I appreciate that very much. Also, in regards to a superintendent that whether they have experience or I don't know with school expansion, because I'm really concerned about the overpopulation of the middle school and the high school, because that's something I'm taking into consideration if I decide to stay in this town. And it seems that population keeps expanding along with the new buildings that are being put up in Ridgefield Park and in Little Ferry. So that's another concern of mine. And because, and also if maybe someone who might be looking into how to make it healthier for students to work together to improve the climate of social media and how that is infiltrated in our schools. And maybe a superintendent that has experience with that and how to help the students deal with that. Because I think that that's a huge issue that's going to be, that we're, as parents and as community members, we're going to continue to be facing in the future, especially with the TikTok challenges and, you know, all these things that are happening.
Ms. Escobar, thank you for that. I did take some notes down. Some of these topics are topics that are very pressing, not just in the media, but also on school boards and also on this board. And I encourage you not to wait for a new superintendent or to wait more than a day to contact your school and raise some of these issues. Every school
Great, thank you.
every school has a guidance department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any other questions on, oh, we got a raised hand.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Brianne Heaney, 9 Hazelton Street.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to say that not only I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for a long time, so I've been able to see how other districts work. And, you know, as a parent in this community as well, I've been able to see how my son is going to school. I mean, I went to school here my whole life, so I've had a lot of history in Richfield Park as well as teaching. And I just want to say that when Dr. Bender came in, it was a breath of fresh air. And I really love our town and our district, but we needed to get some updating. And I was really impressed about how the many things she did prior even to COVID that I was already like, yes, this is a strong female leadership that we need. New programs are being brought up. Our technology, just in general, where I was using Google Classroom for so many years, it was just starting finally to be introduced in all of its wonderful capacities. And I was really impressed, as someone else mentioned, stability. You know, when COVID did hit, yes, she was able to, you know, not only provide computers, but stability and just kind of calming our nerves, whatever we could possibly need. She was there to, you know, to address that. I think it's good to have a strong female on the board. So if that's something that is not going to happen, I would be very disappointed, because we want to see everyone of, you know, all genders and races and all that good stuff. I feel frustrated as a parent because my son is getting older, and I know we have older parents already here. We're looking towards their future, and we just don't have the stability right now because we're constantly shifting people. And that is a concern. Whether it be an extension or to keep, you know, rehire her for the next term, whatever that may be, that would be great and a breath of fresh air again, just for the kids. That's, you know, our biggest concern. And we want our town to thrive. And I think changing up something again would be very challenging for us. I feel confident that even if she didn't know how to do something, she would figure it out and get it done by tomorrow, because that's just who she is. So I just wanted to go to bat for her, and, you know, that consistency would be really great. And I'm excited to see, you know, with that gap where she wasn't there, unfortunately, what could she do now that she is back? I'd be really excited to see that. So I just wanted to voice my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Haney. Do we have anyone else raising their hand? We have one person? Okay, we'll take one more. There's one right behind you. If you just give me your name and address.
My name is Germán Garcés. I live in 189 Brinkerhoff Street.
The address again?
189 Brinkerhoff Street.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know, it's a good thing or a bad thing have Mr. Bender in front of me. Because in the same way we scrutinize her, we can do the same about the other candidates. Unfortunately, we don't know these people. I only can say my experience. I have 2 kids. The reason that I moved to this town, that was the schools. Back then, they were Blue Raven, biggest award ever here. So we moved here. In 16 years that I've been living here, my kids were exposed to the whole community. I love this community. My 2 kids, they were part of every single sports, well, not every single, soccer, track, whatever. I have the experience from granny school when Miss Bender was in front. For me, it's a blessing as a parent. And the proof is my 2 kids. One, they can base it with the formation that they have it, they was able to go to Bergen Academies. They graduated from there and is doing well. My other kid is still here in the high school. When you say transparency, that's what everybody is expecting from the community, because that's the biggest issue here. When Dr. Bender was removed, that was a shock for everybody. And I know a lot of people, they have reason, influenced by media, but I wonder if they're gonna question the other 26 candidates in the same way. So it's a good thing that we know her, but because we know the capabilities that this person they have. So my experience is I trust her, my kids, and if I ever have another one, I will do it again. I believe we need a person like her directing the high school. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I guess that closes public session. Can I get a? That's it, right? Yeah. Mr. DeSantis? I'll indulge you, but you will be the last one, please.
Thank you. You didn't have to do that, but I just wanted to say 2 things. This was not a one-issue election. Okay, this is part of an issue that the community, from what I can gather, mostly believes in. And you were not voted in on a one issue. And I don't want any of you to feel that way. Because it's all what we voted you in. If I hope I speak for many people, is that to bring this district forward. And I wanted to make that clear because a lot of that goes around. The other thing I just want to add is there's no better interview process than doing the job currently. Thank you.
You stuck the landing there, Mr. DeSantis. I said you stuck the landing there. With that, can I get a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close.
I'll second.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Please stay tuned. We'll have more information shortly.